Welcome to this explainer. If you're currently gearing up for the Trinity ISE 3 exam, then you already know the topic presentation is your absolute moment to shine. So we're going to deconstruct the exact anatomy of a perfect C1 presentation. We're giving you a definitive blueprint for mastering this absolutely crucial 8-minute block. We'll be looking directly at the mechanics of the exam and the source materials provided by Trinity College, just to understand exactly what those examiners are looking for.
Okay, let's dive right into this. We're going to cover 5 key parts of our blueprint today: the presentation rules, the discursive structure, essential signposting phrases, how to engage the examiner, and finally, perfecting your delivery.
Starting off with Part 1, the presentation rules. Let's look at the basic format and timing.
So the basic physics of this exam are pretty strict. You've got exactly a 4-minute formal presentation, and that's followed immediately by a 4-minute discussion phase with the examiner. Now, here is a critical mistake a lot of candidates make right out of the gate. They choose the wrong type of topic. Your presentation absolutely has to be discursive. It can't just be a factual description like, say, the history of rap music. I mean, that gives the examiner absolutely nothing to debate. Instead, it needs an angle, right? An argument or 2 sides to debate, like misogyny in rap music. Setting it up this way allows the examiner to actually take an opposing stance during that lively C1 level discussion phase. And here's something you need to do before you even utter your first word. You have to provide the examiner with a printed handout outlining your main points. Or, if you're doing this over Zoom, this means sending a digital document via the chat or WhatsApp right before you start. Honestly, this is a complete game changer. It stops the examiner from scrambling to take notes, lets them smoothly follow your logical flow, and crucially, it helps them prepare their questions for the discussion phase while you're still speaking. Moving on to Part 2, the discursive structure. This is how we actually build the skeleton of your argument.
Let's track the exact forward momentum you need for a top-tier presentation. First, you start with your introduction and a really clear statement of your position. Then, you present up to 3 strong arguments with supporting evidence. But Step 3 is where the magic happens. You must introduce the counter-argument. You literally have to actively acknowledge the opposing view before you move on to Step 4, where you reiterate your position and conclude. Doing this shows the examiner you have a well-rounded, mature grasp of a complex topic. To really ground this, let's look at a concrete example from the Trinity source materials regarding animal testing. Say your position is against it. Your arguments might be that it causes suffering, humans and animals respond differently, and hey, we have technological alternatives now. But then you pivot to the counter-argument. Listen to how the perspective shifts here. You acknowledge that drugs were successfully tested in the past to save human lives. Finally, your conclusion brings the whole shebang together by stating it was necessary in the past, but new methods are needed now. That right there is a flawless, discursive framework in action.
All right, Part 3, essential signposting phrases. These are the verbal tools you'll use to connect your ideas. Now that we have our skeleton, we need the connective tissue. And this brilliantly illustrates the point. Imagine giving instructions to someone driving down a road they don't know. The examiner doesn't know where your presentation is heading, right? You are in the driver's seat, and you need to give clear turn-by-turn navigation so they never get lost. So here is your C1 level arsenal. Please don't just jump blindly from point A to point B. Transition smoothly by saying things like, "Let us now move on to the second part." Want to highlight something absolutely crucial? Hit them with, "What is really significant is, this verbal mapping, this sophisticated linking of ideas, is exactly what pushes your language grade up into that elite C1 bracket."
And part of being clear is being specific. Here's a pro tip for you. When you provide evidence for your arguments, use strong phrases to introduce them. Instead of just saying, like, elevate it. Try saying, namely, I'm referring to. For instance, if your topic touches on British pop culture, you wouldn't just say pop bands, you'd say, namely, I'm referring to the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, and Queen.
Now for Part 4, engaging the examiner. Let's make this dynamic.
Look, a C1 presentation shouldn't feel like you're just reading an essay out loud. You've got to break that invisible wall. Throw in a rhetorical question. Ask the examiner directly, have you ever experienced this? Or how can we explain this? You don't actually wait for them to answer, of course. You just go ahead and answer it yourself. But it acts like a magnet, pulling their attention right back to your argument.
Another fantastic engagement technique is quoting the experts. Citing scientists, authors, or even musicians not only bolsters the validity of your arguments, but it demonstrates highly sophisticated language control. Phrases like, "in the words of Elton John," or "according to Einstein," are incredibly powerful.
Examiners absolutely love this because it shows you've researched your topic deeply and can seamlessly integrate outside perspectives.
Finally, Part 5, Perfecting Your Delivery. This is all about your exam day execution.
So, the crucial point is, having a great script is really only half the battle. Your magic number for your home rehearsals is exactly 3 minutes and 40 seconds. You might be wondering, why not 4 minutes? Well, because on exam day, nerves are naturally going to cause you to hesitate, maybe add a few filler words, or just speak slightly slower. If your practice runs at home are exactly 4 minutes, you are going to go overtime on the real day. The examiner will look at their stopwatch and they will literally cut you off. You'll completely miss your conclusion and your score will take a massive hit. So plan for the nerves, respect the stopwatch, and aim for 340.
We also need to talk about the specific words you choose. Every topic has a core vocabulary, usually about 5 to 7 key terms that you're going to end up repeating constantly throughout those 4 minutes. Honestly, there is no faster way to leave a poor impression than mispronouncing the central theme of your own presentation over and over again. Because these words carry the entire weight of your argument, perfect pronunciation and intonation of them is absolutely essential. Do yourself a favor. Use online dictionaries to check the audio of these specific words well before test day.
And finally, you have to stick the landing. When you finish, please do not just trail off and say, and that's it. Your structure needs to lead naturally to an expected conclusion. And once you've stated that conclusion, you must explicitly and confidently invite questions. This is how you seamlessly pass the baton right into the discussion phase. A simple, professional, "Thank you very much for your attention. I'd be happy to answer any questions you'd like to ask," transitions the exam perfectly.
By combining a strictly discursive topic, a logical structure with a clear counterargument, robust signposting, and flawless timing, you are setting yourself up for undeniable C1 success. So, looking at the road ahead, are you ready to take the driver's seat and guide the examiner through a flawless presentation? Get out there, start outlining your arguments, and make that 8-minute block your own. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and happy studying.